I say I think that marrying who you want to is a right that no man should have anything to do with. It's a God-given right, I think.
I mean, we like to think that we're living in a post-racial era, but but there's aspects of racism basically that are probably here and not going to go away anytime soon. And when you get down to the level of ethnicity, basically of marrying outside of your ethnic group, I mean, depending on where you are and depending on how much ethnic identity is in your family, you're going to have resistance. And I suspect that probably still most of that resistance is going to be, outside the ethnic group, is going to be towards Black Americans.
When I'm scoping a room, I usually look at everything. Beauty is what I really admire most.
I would only date one race. I am white and Puerto Rican, and I don't want what I have. So, it doesn't really matter, honestly.
Typically, I have been known to date Black men. I really haven't dated anybody white since the 8th grade, so yeah, I would say that I just date Black men.
I'm not really drawn to a specific race. Like if I find a white male attractive, then I'll go for him. If I find a Black man attractive, then I'll go for him. It's basically whatever.
My eye, I think, naturally draws to Black men, but it doesn't matter though. I'm attracted to whoever.
My eye draws towards like the tallest guy in the room, basically, no matter what the nationality is.
Race doesn't really matter. I usually just like what I see.
I have dated a Black man before.
I didn't draw to like a certain race. It really doesn't matter. I really don't care about looks that much. It's more about personality. Black or white.
Yeah, I would never date a Black guy.
Yes, I would date a Black girl.
I may kiss a Black guy by accident, but I wouldn't do it purposely.
Mainly, I do date white men, but that's just because I guess I haven't found the right Black man yet.
I prefer Black males, but you have to be really tall, so.
It's whoever I'm attracted to and who I have love for. It's not what they look like or skin color or anything.
You prefer one race over another because you find some attribute about them more superior. So some people think that I like Black men because they're more sexual and they're just a little bit more aggressive in having a relationship, and I kind of agree with that. Like, I've never really been approached by a white guy to start a relationship or to be, I guess, sexually active. So
Black women are just free, like whatever, like they'll go for what they want. And me coming from society where like I was, where I hung with a lot of white girls, when it comes to dating or like going after a guy, they're like, it's kind of like they're scared to go after it, but Black women just go for it.
Plenty of home date white women all the time. I've dated one back in my time, and it really didn't affect me at all. I think it's something normal and pretty much how you feel about a person. I like it. It's really intelligent and really pretty, real beautiful. I do look at figure too. I'm be honest. I do look at the whole shape, figure, a beauty.
Men aren't as careful in their own choices, but they seem to worry more about other people's choices. I mean, particularly family members, even extended family members, that they tend to be more obsessed with the idea of, you know, appropriate, that their relatives and people they know have made appropriate choices. I think women are more open to the idea, basically, of you know, marriage outside the group or whatever. Women don't gossip any less than men, and I don't think men gossip any less than women, but men seem to be more worried about who's with who, about the racial and social manifestations of that, yeah.
I would date a black girl, but she gotta look like Rihanna, butt like Beyonce, and Gabrielle, you, yeah, you go.
I don't know, I just like white girls better. It's not, I've no problem with black girls. I don't even think Tyra Banks is good looking. It's all on that. It's all on the good looking scale. It's an automatic deduct 4.
You would get from, I think men are more romantic in their choices, unrealistic. I think women can be more realistic. I think it might have to do with the biology of it. You know, a woman has got to look for a man who's reasonably reliable if there's going to be a question of family involved. Whereas I think men are more inclined to make a spontaneous choice and then try to stick with it. I think women are a little bit more looking down the road.
Yeah, I think it's easier in a short-term relationship because it's more of like just a hook up and then keep it moving. Long-term, you gotta like meet family and all that. You don't want to get into all that.
Because, for example, a girl could be drunk at a party and could easily hook up with a black guy, but not necessarily want to date or have a relationship with him.
Nowadays, guys go for anything. I don't know what they want. I don't think they see themselves with them in the future, so it's whoever they are with at the time.
It is easy to ignore, actually, in short term. On long term, that's someone you with forever, and people, when you walk the streets with someone in an opposite race, there are people going to judge you. They're going to look at you all the time when you're walking up and down the street, different places you go.
I would have to say personally, from personal experience, I'd have to say that it's easier to ignore racial barriers in short-term relationships because you're not really thinking about, you know, what kids you're going to have, when you're going to marry, if your parents are going to like them. You're just, you know, you're living in the moment and you're not really thinking. But when you move into like the long-term relationships, that's when you think like, wow, I'm going to be with this person for the rest of my life. And this person doesn't look like me. This person doesn't come from the same background. What are my parents going to think? What are my friends going to think? Like, what am I going to think? Like, how is society going to view me for being with someone who's not like the way I am? So I do sometimes worry about that.
I think it is easier to ignore short-term hookups with a black man or vice versa because of the whole sense that you do have to take them home to your families, get to meet them. My family would be okay with it, but it is hard on other people.
No, because I've already brought a lot of white girls home, so I think they're used to it by now.
Right now, I'd rather just stick with the short-term relationships and not even have to think about the long-term because that just brings in so many factors that right now I just don't want to deal with. So.
Absolutely. More black men are going to date white women and totally disregarding black women.
Black girls are usually more moody and mean.
Very disagreeable and dominant.
They always think that they're right and they can never just take an answer from somebody else.
They always try to get their point across. They're always the loudest people in the room. And they always got stuff to say, but half the time they don't even know what they're talking about.
Say that the black man is sick of the loud, arrogant black women who only care about what they care about and everything has to go their way. So they want to date a white girl.
White girls are usually more fun and outgoing.
They're used to one certain type of black woman and they feel as though that's how we're all going to act. I think black women have been marrying white men more because they feel as though black men can't respect them how a white man can, and they feel as though that they'll be taken care of better if a white man than a black man.
Honestly, because they're probably sick of black men. They're lazy. They're all the same. Like, we're just sick of that, so we want to find something different. And white men seem to satisfy our needs a lot more. They know how to handle black women.
Pretty obvious is that we live in a society which is structured largely on competition, and Americans are very conscious basically of their social standing, of the cars they drive and the neighborhoods they live in and the schools their kids go to.
there's a lot of white people in the White House and stuff, and now we got a black president. People not too happy, huh? Are they? Saying that. Like white people or black people get jealous when they see each other, like different races dating and stuff.
There's a lot of like stereotypical views on black men that they're really tough, aggressive, very sexual.
If a black man wound up in a situation where something went wrong in a relationship with a white woman, I think there'd be this supposition on the part that it was, that somehow it was his aggression, his trying to, I think there's something to that argument, but I think you'd have to do a little bit more unpacking with that.
I feel that in society, there's a lot of like stereotypical views on black men that they're really tough, aggressive, very sexual, and women, especially white women, have been portrayed in society as these little cute, delicate girls, and obviously they shouldn't be paired up with such sexually driven men.
When I see a black man and a white woman together, I think, like, what is that girl doing, A black woman and a white man, I think the black woman is stealing my man. And I feel as if that's not right.
It bothers me a little to see a black woman dating a white man, because there's, of course, a double standard in that situation. So, yeah, of course it bothers me just a little bit.
The group that has been proved to be the most difficult to assimilate, of course, has been African Americans, black Americans generally. They identify with themselves, you see, so there's, the rest of society maybe has painted them into that corner, but I could see where black Americans might resist the idea of trying to preserve their cultural identity is what I'm getting at.
They've even said that black men are dirty, which makes me dirty, and they've called me tainted because of that, and they have literally told me that they would not hook up with me. And these people are my friends, and still they've said that because I've been with a black guy, they will not have anything to do with me in a relationship.
We'll call it the pedestal effect. I think there's probably this built-in aspect of institutional racism which suggests that, that there must be, that everybody must want these white women that are idealized, the ideal, whatever, lower 20s, thin, blonde, white woman ideal, or whatever it is. And so I suspect that there is this notion, basically, or this predisposition to think that everybody must be after these
Back
women.
then, African Americans thought of to be like not equal to a white person, so now get an opportunity to date one, it would be lovely.
People do and race think a white woman is one of the more intelligent females than other black women, but it varies. It's sometimes different, sometimes not. But standard-wise, maybe, but it just depends on the woman herself.
I suppose if you had no social hierarchies, you wouldn't need somebody to identify, as being beneath you. There seems to be, how much of this is social conditioning and how much of it is just the nature of the beast, I really don't know. In our history, blacks have been identified with lower class. Then there's been this historical resistance, basically, for intermarriage within families. I mean, you get the family thinking that the son or the daughter is marrying down or whatever it is. I mean, I run into very few people who will identify themselves up front as racist, okay? But if after talking them for a while, I begin to suspect that they're racist, it comes out in this, almost in this worry about not having somebody beneath them, about needing somebody to look down on.
I was raised in California, so I went to a predominantly white school, so I was used to more white males than black males. And me talking to a black male in my family was kind of a disgrace.
Because there's always going to be people that think differently from you.
I think it's who I want to date, so why does it matter who I'm dating, or why do they care? I feel like all women should be able to date who they want to date, when they want to date. there shouldn't be any gender, color, race that should be taken into offense to anyone else besides them.
I feel trapped in my identity to date a black man instead of a white man because of my race and because of how people see it in the world today. And they feel as though when an interracial couple just walks down like a street or something like that, that's really weird. And it kind of makes me feel uncomfortable because people are going to stare at you if you're dating another person out of your race.
When it comes to dating, it shouldn't matter someone's race. If you're attracted to that person, then you should be able to date them freely without anybody on the outside saying anything.
Oh, being a white girl who just happens to date black guys, I feel like I've been judged all my life as being a slut, as being a whore, you know, being tainted. They've said many times that they don't want to hook up with anybody if that girl had hooked up with one black guy. And they'll say it to me because they know me, but if anybody else were to ask them that same question, they would completely deny it and say, no, like, I don't care. Like, I love interracial couples. Like, I wouldn't care if people were dating that. I might date, like, a black girl.
Yes, I would date a black girl.
I would date a white girl who has dated a black guy.
I think, yeah, I would date a black girl. I mean, it doesn't really matter, black or white. I could be like, fuck no. Fuck them bitches.
They'll tell me the truth, but they won't tell anybody else. And that's sad.
Their own relationship.
I don't think race matters, to me at least.
Black, Asian, whatever.
Everybody should date who they want to date.
It's whatever, love is love.
If I like the guy, I like him. That's how I see it.
If you love her, you love her. It shouldn't be about the color.
Black, Mexican, white, it's whatever.
I love me a white man.
At the end of the day, it's about what makes the person happy, not the color of their skin.
Maybe not family tradition, but us growing up now is just really different, and I can pretty much enjoy it.
We're past the times where people should worry about who they're dating because of their race.
I think that's a problem with the United States because I think the history of the United States has been a history basically of accommodation of change. I mean, we've always been at our strongest when we've moved forward and changed.
That society is accepting it more today than it ever has.
When I see a black guy and white girl together, it doesn't bother me at all. I'm used to seeing that.
I feel like they're just a normal old couple like any other couple. It's the same thing as a white girl and a white guy.
When black women choose a partner, I feel as though they do have a little bit more self-confidence and everything because back then they didn't really get the choice to do that, and society really wasn't interracial, so they felt as though they were stuck dating the same race because they wouldn't be accepted.
I think it's occurring more and more lately, and it's going to happen. Eventually it'll be all, wouldn't matter if you're white and white, white and black. I think one day it's going to come to an end and it's just not going to be a huge topic that's brought up.
Yes, I am not racist. Please don't think that. I just would not personally date a black guy.
I think interracial dating should be acceptable for everybody. I don't think race should matter, and shouldn't see color.
It's because we've come a long way in our society where you see a lot more interracial couples. Try an interracial relationship. What do you have to lose?
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I even imagine. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like the John Lennon song or something. Imagine, you know, a world without these kind of divisions. Bringing, I think, whatever racism I was exposed to was learned. You know, it's funny. I think growing up in the family circumstances in the city I grew up in, it was a city school that had a you know, about 50-50 black-white. I think we were taught racism. I think initially, you know, coming up through kindergarten. I mean, and really, this is about, in part, these questions about interracial dating are in part about racism. But I think before, when I was growing up, before you got into junior high, there wasn't much social pressure towards segregation, that whites had to be with whites and black had to be with black. you know, I think that was a learned behavior, and that, if anything, was responsible for whatever difficulties there were, you know, in later on, you know, up to the age of 25, 26, or whatever. Most of the behaviors, basically, that were racist or against interracial dating were sort of learned behaviors that were acquired. So, I mean, that always made me, I suppose that always made me hopeful of thinking that if we could just unlearn those learned behaviors, if we'd stop teaching that stuff to each other, we could probably get, you know, do a lot better than we've done historically in terms of dealing with our, you know, with questions like interracial dating.
Hopeful, yes I am hopeful for today. Take this music and use it, let it take you away and be whole.